So, what I'm going to talk about first is a little bit of an initiation into the concepts and the principles that are underlying the practice that we're about to do. Um, a lot of the work that I've been kind of like excited about recently has been through this concept of Nada Brahman, which is a Vedic principle. It's like a Sanskrit word, and it basically translates into a few different things. But my favorite translation is the world is sound, but also it translates to God is sound, and essentially it is that existence is sound. Everything has its own vibration. Everything has its own resonance and frequency, which actually can be heard when, especially this part of the faculties of receiving, like when our capacity to really receive through our throat chakra, through our ajna chakra, and through our crown, even when these chakras are open, then there is the ability and an increasing awareness of these sounds that are existing on many layers of reality, many different dimensions. So we hear sounds in the physical, like right now I can hear the traffic from the road outside, like I'm living on this quite busy street, and so there's often traffic, and that's just like a part of my reality. But um, underneath the traffic or around the traffic or inside the traffic, there's all of these other layers of sound that have become increasingly apparent over time. And that might be just a subtle vibration. Like for some people, they hear the buzz of the underworld. This is something that I've only heard a few times, where there's suddenly like a buzzing in the ears, and it's really the presence of um, the unseen, the unknown. Or you might actually have uh, like a ringing, a kind of shrillness in the ears. Some people hear voices. I hear many voices. I hear doors opening and closing. Sometimes I hear bells. Sometimes I hear animals. And all of these sounds that compose the reality. Now, the reality might be a larger universe, or it might be a reality that's held in the body through memory. So, what we're going to do today is what I'm really excited about is that we're going to uh, access some memories and transform some memories through sound. So, since the beginning of my shamanic practice, I've been really interested in how memory is an access point within the unified field, within quantum consciousness, which is consciousness that exists in many different dimensions simultaneously. How memory is an access point for us to work with imprints and the storage system of our body that have been left with us, like how we are able to really go to that place and that point, um, physically, non physically, and unlock things within the body, um, within many different layers of memory. The body has its own memory, uh, and work with that which is remembered, which is opened to be received by us through vision, through our own like recollection, or even through our like conscious construction, right? Because we know as well that memory can be a little bit unreliable. We can actually construct our memories. We can like remember them different each time. But essentially, what's underneath the multiplicitous remembering that we are holding on to. What's underneath that is some kind of core imprint, is some kind of energy, is some kind of vibration that we kept this long. We've kept it this whole time, stored in ourselves, stored in our channel, stored in one of the chakras, maybe, or the many chakras. And these memories continue to operate through us and loop through us, and this is what becomes a part of the fractal of who we are. So mm, when all of the chakras are in operation and flowing really well, then essentially we are able to express ourselves as the geometric nature of consciousness, which we are. And every everything is still geometric, and everything is still a fractal, and everything is still looping. But shadows are things that are kind of like blotchy areas within the kind of fractal that almost lead to a kind of rupture that I believe might have something to do with the way that karma continues to express itself as a dysfunction instead of as a gift. Um, yes, but that may be some other time when I have when I have like reached more conclusions. So karma is really interesting because when it comes to sound, uh, we are essentially the sound of our ancestors because we are the body of our ancestors. We are the body of this earth, and we are the body of our ancestors. The earth is our ultimate ancestor, and the ancestors, the humans that came before us, and even the animals that came before us, are the ancestors that compose who we exhibit and express ourselves to be now. And of course, free will and our human consciousness and our personality is able to somewhat direct the flow of expression and the way in which the expression occurs. But the truth is that the raw material did come from all of the humans and the animals that came before, and that needs to be recognized. So it's essentially we are expressing the sound of our biological memory. Um,
Mm.
and yet it can transform over time. And the most beautiful thing is for us to be able to transform this sound through accessing that memory and releasing through sound what has been stored that doesn't need to be stored anymore. Like, because a lot of the time we've retained the memory because of trauma, because we're trying to keep ourselves safe. And this is what I came to realize after all of my healing processes is like, oh, I have like stored this, like literally um, this year I've well, last year now, I worked with a lot of past lives. And so these past lives were arising, showing themselves to me. And I was remembering being inside the body of these aspects of self who were essentially really, 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 really going through some very dark stuff, some really really, really dark stuff. Won't go into the details, but basically, I came to see that so many of my defense mechanisms and so many of the ways in which I have like built this this tendency to react a certain way is because of the storage from those is because the memory was stored that way.
Yeah.
Um, and it told me that I have to respond in this way again and again and again so that I can be safe. Um, so what we're going to do today is I believe that we have time to look at three memories. Uh, and what we're going to do is we're going to go into memory one, memory two, memory three, and we're going to first release and then we're going to recode. So we'll do this with each memory, we'll release and then we'll move on to memory two, and then we'll move on to memory three, release, 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 and then we'll go back to memory one, two, and three, and we'll recode, recode, recode. Um, and what release looks like is finding the whole spectrum of the voice that is able to articulate the essence of that memory and what it feels like. So um, the step one is really to find the memory. So like from this point, I invite you to begin thinking about the memories, what they are, and yeah, just see like whether there's three memories that you would like to kind of release from your body and then rewrite for yourself. So the rewriting process is really interesting because like the memory itself is not going to change, right? Like it's still, I mean, that's debatable maybe, but basically like what happened on some level did actually happen physically, whether or not like our mind recalls it like accurately or not, like what our mind recalls is actually the imprint. And it just tries to make sense of the imprint through memory. And so what we'll do is we'll access the memory, which is access the imprint. We'll call the memory like come into full expression, be it through sound, vision, be it through smell, even through taste, and we'll allow the memory to really express itself, and then we'll actually invite our bodies to also remember. And this is what is really something that needs to be done with quite a bit of sensitivity because it can be really challenging to allow that to come into expression.